Hey y'all, today I wanted to take you along with me as we deliver a wedding cake to one of the most beautiful venues on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The bride that I'm making this cake for is the daughter of one of the sweetest families that I have met since opening the bakery. They always come to us every year for all of their holiday pies and pastries and things, and I just think they are the sweetest family. So when I sat down with the bride to do her consult and tasting, she did give me an inspiration picture, but she also said that it didn't have to be exact, and that always takes so much pressure off of us as cake decorators because, a lot of times it's hard to duplicate someone else's art. So it's always nice when I know that I have a picture to go off of, but also that the client doesn't expect me to make it just like the picture that they sent. So for this particular client, she wanted all 4 tiers of her wedding cake to be the same flavor, which is not always the case when we're doing wedding cakes. A lot of the times when a bride picks a 2 or 3 or even 4 tier cake, a lot of times they'll want each tier to be a different flavor. But this bride loved our almond cake and our browned butter buttercream so much that she decided to have the entire cake be that same flavor. So as I'm icing this cake, if you see little brown flecks in the buttercream, that's because when we make our brown butter buttercream, we literally take an entire stick of butter, melt it on our stove top, and let it brown to the point where it gets golden and it even gets little brown bits in it. And we add that straight to our vanilla buttercream base, and it's always such a popular pick at our wedding consults and tastings because that brown butter kind of gives off almost a nutty flavor and kind of cuts down on the sweetness of our buttercream. So the design that she chose for her wedding cake is actually one that I've never done before, and I'm always really intimidated to try something new for the first time on someone's wedding cake because it's just such a big occasion. So many people are going to be there at that venue seeing your masterpiece, so it's always a little bit nerve-wracking to try something new for the first time. But as you can see here, she wanted that top edge of each tier to be left a little bit unfinished, and that is something that I've done plenty of times before, so I wasn't really worried about that, and I was really happy with how it turned out. But on the sides of each tier, the inspiration picture just kind of had these rustic looking ruffles going all the way up the cake, and I wasn't really sure how to go about that. So this was my method, and I was super happy with how it turned out. The inspiration picture that she sent was actually of a 3-tier cake, and she chose to go with a 4-tier cake. So I had to kind of play around with these ruffles a little bit because in the picture that she sent, all of the ruffles were not perfectly lined up on every tier. They were kind of almost offset a little bit. So I did have to scrape this down a couple of times and kind of reposition the ruffles until I felt like they were in a good spot. So once I got all of the ruffles on each tier just the way that I like them, I went ahead and got all of the cakes chilled and ready for stacking. So here you can see I've got the first 2 tiers stacked and I'm going in with the 3rd. I had to learn along the way that chilling the cakes first is really, really helpful in this process. It makes it a whole lot easier to handle, and as you can see, it's really forgiving as I'm trying to wiggle it in place. I'm not too worried about smushing my design or anything like that because it's nice and sturdy. So now I'm taking you along with me to deliver the cake and get it all set up and get the fresh flowers put on. This particular venue is one of my favorites to deliver to because it's only about 15 minutes away from the bakery, so it's a nice easy ride to get it delivered. Even though it is a short ride to get to this venue, I never like to travel with cakes that are stacked more than 3 tiers high. So as you can see here, I wait until I get everything set up to go ahead and add that top and final tier on. And then as you can see here, even in just the few short minutes that it took me to get here, my buttercream has already gone a little bit soft on me. So I'm gonna have to go around and do some patchwork, which is no big deal. I will say though, one of the least favorite parts about delivering wedding cakes is when I do have to do a few last minute touches like this and I get an audience. It's always so intimidating to have a group of family members congregate behind me and watch while I put the last few details together. Like I said though, this is one of my favorite venues to deliver to on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's called the Oakcrest Mansion Inn, and Lisa, who is the coordinator, typically does the florals for all of her events. And I love that because she always just leaves me buckets and buckets of fresh flowers to choose from to finish off my cakes with. But this time the flowers were provided by Pine Hills Florists here on the Gulf Coast. Pine Hills is owned by one of my very dear friends, Rachel Bond, and I always get so excited when I show up to a venue and she is there because she just does an incredible job with the florals. So at this point you can see I've got all of the fresh flowers added on. A lot of times I feel like I don't know when to stop when it comes to adding flowers to a cake, but for this one I really didn't want to take away from those beautiful ruffles that are cascading down the front. So I thought just a couple of sweet little clusters is all that it would need. I'm so happy with how this cake turned out, and I hope that you enjoyed coming along on the journey with me. If you'd like to see more content like this, I hope that you'll take a minute to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!